Hey everybody, I wanted to get on here and make a short little video on working with cotton yarns, and it's mainly inspired because it's getting hot. It's June, it's the first part of June, and I know for me and for many other people that means we start looking at yarns that are maybe a little bit more summer weather friendly. So I definitely have some favorite cotton yarns, but just as someone who sells yarn, you can definitely tell from sales and popularity that wool yarns 100% beat cotton every time. And so I thought we might need a cotton yarn appreciation video. So here one great thing about cotton yarns is that you can have a yarn that is either 100% cotton or a cotton and some other fiber blend. And I know one of my favorites, I currently have a fun promotion going on my website, is the Cestari cotton. They have two different blends. They have Old Dominion, which is their 100% cotton blend, and then they have Ashlon, which is a favorite around here. We love both of them, but Ashlon is a wool and cotton blend, so it's kind of a, like, if you really want wool yarn, but it's warmer outside, it's a great alternative to work a little bit of cotton in there. And but I've got some 100% cottons to show you. Oh, and this one is actually fun. This one is from Wool and the Gang, and it was one I picked up forever ago in a yarn store, and I need to come up with something cool to do with it, but I had to have it because it is a upcycled denim, so recycled blue jeans and cotton. So I thought that, I loved the idea of upcycling both of those, and so I thought that was a really fun yarn, and I need to actually make something out of it. So that's one, but you can definitely see that the drape, it's definitely got, just from where it's escaping from this little skein, the drape of cotton yarn is going to be very different than the drape of like a more wool fiber yarn. So you can see that here in this 100% cotton yarn too. This is a gallery yarn that the Inca, I always get it confused, but we do sell this one, and it's really fun. It's got this like thick and thin, like rustic look to it. This is a gallery yarn. You can find out more about it on my website, but you can definitely see the drape on a plant fiber yarn is always going to be less stretchy. Well, no, not stretchy at all. Actually, no stretch, and definitely more of a relaxed drape than like a wool yarn that might have a little bit more structure to it. So that would be the number one thing you would want to look at with patterns. So for picking or considerations for patterns for a cotton yarn, and here I have two. These are both done with sock weight. This was, God, we did maybe 3 runs of this, three or four different years. It was the Succulent Bloom yarn that was custom, we did custom dyed up with Crafty Housewife Yarns brand. And it was just beautiful. I loved it. But it was a 100% cotton yarn, and this pattern you can find on the free pattern section of my website. It is a loose knit shoulder wrap, and it's like obviously would be, great for taking to the beach or a cool restaurant, if you were out and you didn't, you wanted a little something but nothing itchy. I love this, and I usually throw it in my bag when we're heading to the beach. But you can see that this pattern, the reason I made it this way is it's got these loose drop stitches, which y'all know I'm a big fan of, as well as eyelets. And the drop stitches as well as the eyelets in this definitely goes along well with the cotton yarn base, because you can see it's as limp as a wet noodle, isn't that what they say? But the drape on this is definitely going to hug your body or whatever shape that you put into it. And since cotton yarn doesn't have any stretch to it, by doing a looser style knit gives it that little bit of stretch, in my opinion, that it would maybe be lacking if it was a tighter knit stitches. So by doing something loose and airy, this lent itself well to beachy knitting, cotton yarns, and then obviously gives it that stretch that you wouldn't have as much just naturally in a more cotton-based yarn. You kind of got to work some stretch into it. And I would say don't try to fight the nature of it. Like, it's cotton yarn, you kind of want to make it loose and coastal is what I always think of. So you're definitely, if you're wanting to have like a coastal grandmother moment, then cotton yarn is your friend and what you want to do. And like I said, I absolutely love how this pattern turned out. I don't have any more of this yarn, unfortunately. We need to do some more of it because I loved it. But you can get this pattern for free on my website in the free pattern section, and use a sock weight cotton yarn that you happen to love. I would recommend the Old Dominion is that size off of Cestari. So you could definitely pick up some Old Dominion yarn and then use this free pattern. And let me show you the contrast to a wool pattern. Okay, this one I just grabbed because it was sitting here, but it is another pattern example of a shoulder wrap. This one was also a sock yarn, but it was a merino based, you know, regular old wool. You can see it's a color fade. This was a merino one, and then it was just a really simple garter stitch. But you can already see how with the garter stitch is still very pliable, which is why I like it. But it already, with the closer together stitches and then the type of wool, I mean, obviously it's still floppy, but it doesn't have, like, it holds it's bulkier, and it holds its shape more so than that cotton one that was just completely loose. So that would be, and the number one thing I would talk about with using cotton versus wool is the stretch. This has got a little bit more natural stretch to it, as well as the shape. The cotton yarn is going to be very drapey. So you definitely would want to maybe swatch. If you're like me and you don't like to swatch, cotton yarn swatching, if it's a pattern that you feel like it's going to be very exacting, would definitely be the number one thing I would recommend doing if you were switching to try out some cotton yarn. And one more thing, and then I will let you go. One thing I love about cotton yarns is the texture variety. I feel like that is very easy to get with them. Here are two different yarns that I had laying around for upcoming yarn subscriptions, and they're both really pretty, but they're both very different. This one is a Shanico wool, which is very similar to merino. And so this is your basic Shanico or merino wool sock yarn. So you can see, you know, it's got that lovely, smooth, soft texture that we all love. This one is a cotton yarn that is also sock weight, but it's got this really cool, this one I'm going to call mother of pearl. It's very beachy. It's got this very cool kind of, I mean, it looks like thread ply, but it's not. I mean, I guess it is technically. It's like a little baby thread ply, but I loved the texture. And like I said, this one's cotton, and will be in a yet to be determined month, but upcoming month for our Indie Dyed Yarn subscription, which you can learn more about on my site. But like I said, I loved the variation in the soft tonal colors. Like I said, we were going for very beachy, like mother of pearl. So the texture of the yarn, and then the texture, you know, with the different color variations, like I said, it reminds me of like a seashell. So I loved the texture with the cotton. So, I mean, obviously this is screaming to be knitted into something drapey and loose and beautiful, like the pattern I just showed you. And like I said, this one I already showed you, but just showing different textures of cotton yarn. So this one is definitely more of a 2-ply thick and thin situation, whereas this one is a much smoother, but it is still densed, but it's got the color variation in it. So, I mean, there's just so many different fun ways that you can play with cotton and plant fiber yarns. And we do have, let's see, Brittany, a friend of mine, had written a great blog post on spinning plant fiber yarn. So I'll have to try to link that. It's in the blog section of my website. It's one of my more Googled blog posts, but I'll try to remember to put a link on this video if you were interested in spinning plant fiber yarns. But this was definitely for knitting. And like I said, if you're watching this in the month of June, I do currently have, and like I said, the inspiration for this little video, 2 of my favorite yarns from Cestari, Old Dominion, and Ashlon, which are both either 100% USA cotton or blend of cotton and wool, you know, US wool and US cotton together. In the case of the Ashlon, if you buy any quantity of those, even just 1 skein this month, you will be automatically emailed from my website, obviously. So feralscene.com, you will be automatically emailed, like I said, it doesn't matter what size purchase, a coupon to save $24 off my new knitter course. So it's the new knitter/crochet launchpad. I launched this course last year, and it's been really fun. it's cheap, it's small, and it's it's fun. It's just meant for if you are newer or coming back to knitting or crochet. I basically polled everybody on what all of their most burning questions were, and then I tried to answer them with step-by-step videos. And for like the crochet part, I got my friend Heidi, who is the crochet teacher, to make some information and videos. So it's got resources, coupons, videos, how-tos, all the things. So it's definitely, it was meant to be, and that's why it's called a launch pad, is it was meant to be like a fun, like kick in the pants to get into knitting or crocheting, because it can be intimidating, I know. So I thought it would be fun to do that, as you would end up getting the course for $8. So that if you buy the Cestari, the cotton yarns, either Ashlon or Old Dominion, in this month of June, you will be automatically emailed the coupon to get that course, the little knitter launch pad, for $8 for me, as a, like I said, incentive to try some cotton yarn and try something different, and hopefully help you out with some tips and tricks and homework and how-tos and all of that good stuff. So with, I think that's it. I think I covered all the things I wanted to say on cotton yarn, so I need to go eat some lunch before I get crabby. Y'all know how that goes, and I will talk to you soon.